But then you guys would be playing and we'd have to change it back.
Right.
Then you would change the daylight savings on us, and we'd have to go do all sorts of
That's right.
again. Okay, so before I get going here, I'm going to talk about the TOG meeting tonight. Is in room 714A between 5 and 6:30, and there will be multiple people talking. There you go. It's a surprise.
No beverages or dancing girls, though.
I'm not
Well, then why am I going? Okay, so today I'm going to talk about some unusual uses, or maybe not so unusual, but just really cool uses that maybe you didn't know what your Asterisk system could do. I'm going to try and probably go through these slides at a pretty brisk pace because I have a lot of stuff I want to cover. There's a lot of slides, but a lot of them are kind of irrelevant. They're more kind of for after the fact when you get the slides, and if you want to set up some things and follow some of the instructions, and gives you some tips of how to get these new features working, then you have those notes. For those who are not really super technical, I might start seeing some glazed eyes because I'm going to start getting into some of the dial plan and how to set up the features and showing the output of them. But for the most part, you'll still get like a good feel of kind of how Asterisk works and how some of these features might be integrated with other external things, and just get a good feel for some of the more advanced features that are coming out in the 1.6 branch. Page up, page down. There we go. Okay. So, yes?
Will you be distributing the slides?
Yes, the slides are actually already on my website. If you go to leifmadsen.com and go to presentation tab, it's already there. Most likely to be on the IT360 site as well as soon as I find my login name and all that jazz. So, anyways, my name's Leif Madsen. I live here in Toronto, and I'm a co-author of Asterisk: The Future of Telephony. It's a book published by O'Reilly and was written with Jim Van Megelen and Jared Smith. Jim is actually here as well. He's over at the TOG booth wearing the blue shirt. Let's see. I'm also an Asterisk bug tracker marshal and the release manager, so when a new Asterisk release goes out, that's basically because of all the work of all the developers, but I get to package it all up and write the release announcements and actually distribute it out to the internet. I get to do all the fun part. And I'm basically a consultant. I've been doing this for years now, probably since about 2004 professionally, and before that I've been using Asterisk since about 2002. I work heavily with Digium, and basically that's my full-time job, but I also do some consulting on the side, mostly because I had some previous clients, and sometimes I pick up some other clients and ship that off to some other Asterisk people who are looking for work, and we just work together and all that. So that's about me. Covering this presentation, I'm going to talk about some of the new, or at least maybe features you haven't heard about in Asterisk. Some of these are actually not in 1.6 yet. They're basically sitting in a branch in the bug tracker, being ready for testing. So these are either very close to going in, or are already in, or maybe we're already in 1.4 but have been changed for 1.6. Or they're just not really widely used, and I just want to bring attention to them. Some of the things, there's going to be IMAP voicemail integration. With 1.6, you have the additional greeting storage. So what this basically does is allows you to merge your email client and server along with your voicemail. So everything is stored in one location, as opposed to having a voicemail server and also having an email server. They can actually be the same thing. Some of the new ODBC features that Kevin had actually alluded to previously is with the adaptive nature of database integration. The new calendar integration that'll be coming in future version of Asterisk, which allows you to essentially do things like control call flow based on the status of your calendar. Curl, which allows you to pull information from a website and pull that into Asterisk and manipulate the data or use that data for other things. And the Java integration, which is the XMPP protocol, essentially allows you to start using instant messaging with Asterisk to control call flow. And we'll look at some examples how all these work that I've been learning even to write this presentation. There's some things I wanted to test out, didn't have the time. This presentation gave me an excuse to lab them all up and actually learn how they all work. So I learned a bunch of stuff while writing this presentation. Hopefully you'll learn as well. The IMAP integration allows you, as I mentioned, basically allows you to store voicemails and emails in the same location. You can repurpose existing infrastructure when you start moving to using Asterisk for voicemail. And you get to start using this new/old word converged and actually have something that's converged. Adaptive CDR ODBC, which really can just be extended to adaptive ODBC in general, allows you to store additional call information in the database simply by adding a new column to the database, and now you can just start writing data to it from your dial plan, and away you go. We'll automatically create additional columns that the system needs. So one of the examples I had was I have basically a table that is only populated with the ID field. When Asterisk starts up, it populates the table for me. I don't have to do anything. And previously, the system wouldn't even work with the real-time side of it. The real-time would basically just not work until you'd gotten your database, all set up, the tables all created, and basically made sure they were all working. Plus, you wouldn't get any data back that told you that, hey, you're missing this column. You were just like, doesn't work. Okay, well, now I got to try something else. Oh, it still doesn't work. I got to try something else until you eventually get it all working. Now Asterisk will actually tell you what is missing, and you can go in and administer it. So it can either manipulate the tables yourself, or it can just warn you and say, hey, you're missing this. You should fix that. Calendar integration allows you to hook your Asterisk system to things like the Google Calendar, your Exchange server, or Zimbra to get status from your calendar. We can then perform some routing logic based on the calendar's status, and we can redirect calls to voicemail automatically, for example, if our status is set to busy. So say I'm in a meeting right now and someone calls me, instead of another line on my phone ringing or whatever, it'll just automatically forward to my voicemail because my calendar is set to busy right now. I'm not available. There's no point in ringing my phone or forwarding to my cell or anything else like that. Curl, it does exist in 1.4, and I'm not sure a whole lot of things have actually changed in 1.6 with regards to it, other than I guess there is now the ability to use real-time with curl. And but I basically started looking on Google for usage of curl, and there just really wasn't anything, so I figured I'd talk about it. Allows you to get information from a website and use that information to perform routing logic or whatever else you want to do. The example I'm going to use is basically looking up the route cost from a website so that it's all basically managed outside of Asterisk, and look up that information, and then I can control how much the call cost. And I could then write that into my CDR table with the adaptive CDR. XMPP integration allows you to currently allows you to send information to a Jabber client. So I have an instant messaging client on my desktop. Call comes in. I could basically send a pop-up to that or a message to it, which then pops up because the client performs that action, which says, "Hey, Kevin's calling you from this number," or whatever. And then you basically have it on your screen there. Useful. I use it at home sometimes for because my Polycom doesn't have a backlit display, and I tend to work in the dark, which I maybe shouldn't do. It basically will pop on my screen, and I can now actually see caller ID. So the first thing I'll talk about is IMAP integration. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of technical stuff in here that I'm probably just going to skip through really quickly. It's more of a reference for after the fact. I've basically already talked about that. So what you would need is basically OpenSSL development and PAM development packages, and that's how you install them. We use the C client libraries from the University of Washington. This basically gives us the IMAP integration functionality. What I used was the Dovecot server, which is, again, just yum install Dovecot, and now you have an IMAP server installed on Linux. That's what I used for my labbing to get everything set up. Again, you can use Exchange or any other IMAP server pretty much. And we configure the Dovecot server, which basically is going to have a user on the system, and Asterisk is going to connect to the IMAP server as that user. And within that voicemail system, then all our voicemails are stored in a separate directory and are basically stored as that user. And again, configuration parameters. And so this is basically showing us that we're connecting to the IMAP server as the phone sys user. This is how we would